Hey guys, welcome back to class. Hope you guys have been having a good time. So for the past few days, we've been working on the American Revolution. So before we move past that, let's do a quick recap. I'm going to ask you guys a few questions, and I'm going to call you guys randomly to answer them, right? So, Sam, what was the official time span of the American Revolution?
1776 to 1783.
Nice, good job. Brent, what was the official period of conflict for the American Revolution?
I believe that was 1775 to 1781.
Good job, correct. And finally, Jimmy, what treaty did the Americans and the British sign to end the Revolutionary War?
The Treaty of Paris.
Right, good job. All right, guys, looks like you have a pretty firm grasp of the American Revolution, so we'll move on. So, after the American Revolution, the British just left America. They left them completely alone, so America was a completely new country. They had just lost their mother country who had given them resources and everything. So, as a new country, what do you think are some weaknesses that they would have initially? Sam?
They didn't really have any, I guess, like government set up.
Right. So, okay, that's definitely a true point. Jimmy?
They had no developing infrastructure. Like they had no hospital, like apothecaries, I guess, at that time.
That's a very good point. So, some of their weaknesses, obviously, were they had no more easy connection to the resources given them by Britain. They had no protection from the British Army that was previously there protecting them. And also, like you said, there was no infrastructure and there was no government instituted to provide laws for them to follow. So, in order to combat this, the Americans believed that they needed some type of constitution to fix all this. So, they began drafting the Articles of Confederation, which is some sort of constitution. So, does anybody know the exact definition of a constitution? No? So, the exact definition of a constitution is a body of fundamental principles that a state or an organization will follow and agree to be governed by. So now that you know what a constitution means, I want you guys to get into little groups and make your own constitution. As in, what do you think should be in a constitution? What do you think should be protected for a new country? All right? I'll give you guys about 10 minutes to do this. So for the purpose of this video, let's assume that 10 minutes has passed and you guys have written down ideas for a new constitution. So since we only have one group in this video, group one, what were some things you thought were important to include in a constitution? Sam?
That everyone has an equal say.
Okay, so equal say. Brett?
That there has to be a form of government that rules everyone, and then little state governments.
Okay, so like a central government
Yeah.
and state governments. Anything to add, Jimmy?
There should be a uniform system of currency.
Okay, cool. Uniform system of currency. All right, awesome. So now that we have our class constitution, we're going to compare it to the articles, the 13 articles that the Americans wrote as their initial constitution. For the purpose of this video, let's say I explain all 13 articles to you guys. All right. So now that you've heard the articles, you see that they're pretty loose. What major problems do you see from the articles? Sam?
It seems like they don't really address the centralized government part of it.
Yep, that's definitely true. Jimmy?
I feel like they're differing systems of like I said, like currency don't allow them to be very, I guess, efficient in trade.
That's very true. Anything else? Anybody? Brett?
Yeah, and I think the power's too spread out for them to be able to make a lot of rules for the country as a whole often.
Right. And those were actually you guys just hit all the biggest issues of the articles. So, like you guys said, there's no centralized power. The Americans were so afraid of creating another tyrannical government, just like the British, that they were afraid of giving one group of people too much power. So instead, they decided that, the states could make their own laws regarding commerce and stuff. The only power that the Congress really had was, as the article stated, to make war or peace, to regulate treaties, to regulate trade with other countries. Also, there was no regulation or commerce. The regulation of commerce in the country wasn't very good at the time. States were allowed to make their own currency, and they were allowed to make their own trade laws. So, let me finish. I'm sorry, Sam. So, because of this, the system of commerce and finance was really bad in the country at the time. Sam, you had a question?
Well, I was gonna ask, is that kind of like there were 13 different countries?
Pretty much. That's a really good observation. They were so separate that you couldn't really call them a country like a country that we have today. So it's an excellent observation. So eventually, the politicians in America had enough of this. And in 1786, they decided to call a convention. They called all these delegates from every single state to Philadelphia for the Constitutional Convention. In this convention, they were trying to amend the articles, but in the end, they ended up writing a whole new constitution, which is the constitution that we have today. It gave more power to a central government, and it made it easier to amend the constitution itself. So, before we end for today, we'll cover the Constitution in another lesson, because there's a lot more to it. Do you think that the Americans were right to amend the Articles, or do you think they just should have kept them? Brent?
I think we were pretty right to amend them because I think we became more of a country and more of a nation
Okay,
with a central government.
good point. Sam?
I don't know if we can say if we were right or wrong, because if we ended up being a bunch of different countries, we could kind of be like Europe with a lot of small countries instead of the United States.
Okay, that's an interesting viewpoint. Anybody else?
I just had a clarifying question. Was it in 1786 or was it in 1776?
Good question. So they, in 1786 or 1776?
Yeah, the Confederation of or like when they amended the Articles.
So in 1786, they sent out a call, like an order to every single state saying that we're going to try and amend these articles because obviously they're not working out very well for us. And back then, we didn't have email or phones or anything, so it would take a while for word to get across. So the actual convention took place in 1787 in Philadelphia. Okay, cool. Looks like you guys have pretty good points on the articles. So to finish off today, let's just quickly go over what we learned. So I have this ball right here. I'm going to toss it to you guys, and then when you guys catch it, just say one point that you learned today in class. Ready?
Articles of Confederation didn't work out.
Okay.
The actual period of fighting was from 1775 to 1781.
The entire revolutionary period was from 1776 to 1783.
Okay, cool. Good job, guys. And for homework tonight, you guys are going to have a worksheet that reviews what we learned today about the articles. It's going to be really easy. And also, I want you to write a paragraph or two about listing the good parts and the bad parts of the Articles of Confederation. And you guys can use their textbook for this. Yes, Sam?
How many sentences are in a paragraph?
I would say 6 to 8 sentences. Okay? And finally, I want you guys to read and take notes from pages 180 to 195 tonight on the Constitution to prepare for tomorrow's class. All right? Any questions? All right, guys. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
See ya.